The brightest dawn, the most glorious sunset to grace mine eyes. The beauty of 1,000 lifetimes all surpassed in that one moment when I stumbled unaware on the keeper of my soul.
The descendants of those brought in to work on the project in Hath often debate as to how the planet was saved from imminent ecological catastrophe. The material results of the project itself are arguably less critical overall than the way deity brought so many unique individuals together. Only future historians will be able to say which aspect really impacted humanity the most. The one indisputable fact that nobody argues is how, barely in time, the project did instrumentally save the planet. Zacharias Amador Zakarian, Capítulo 91.
Looking back, Max marveled at how much he had written. He once thought he would not be gifted with the aura, yet he had imagined so much. Strangely, several of his classmates did end up seeing an aura. Benzeric came to mind, recalling when he met his Kaylee in one of the palace rooms. He also remembered Jerome Blankenship, who was gifted with the aura during his trip to Vancouver to work with the designate there. Earlier that day, Lyra had received a remarkable blessing. They would study the words together, uncovering the different layers, nuances, and meanings behind them. Several lines from her blessing kept resonating with him.
Your union with Maximilian is already ratified by deity. You will help Rhiannon bring balance to the religion of Estolia by establishing an educational program for the daughters of Estoliana. This generation must craft how Estolia will appear to the world, to be a voice for change. Never doubt your impact on Estolia and on the planet. Happiness and joy will walk with you throughout your life. Estolia needs you, Lyra.
Max had never heard of a union ratified in advance, nor so publicly. He was grateful that the ceremony was less interesting than other events in the transition. The different elements of the blessing made the presence, guidance, and protection of deity more real to him than it had ever been before. He wanted to ask her to dance, but he was not sure he could continue to exercise restraint if she was in his arms. He felt as if every cell in his body wished to fuse with hers.
You do not have to wait any longer.
Nico whispered in his ear. Max looked at his cousin before looking back at Lyra.
I don't want to do anything wrong.
There is nothing you could do wrong.
Nico paused and then asked him,
What do you want to do?
Max did not need to think twice. His voice was thick with the suppressed emotions and desires of the last 18 days.
I want to take her to a seclusion suite and then ask if she will be mine. I do not want to be interrupted at all. I want to spend every minute of the week focusing on her.
Nico nodded.
Okay, if that is what you want, we will make it happen.
Max felt a slight flush on his cheeks as Nico left his side and went briskly across the room. At first he thought Nico planned to say something to Lyra, but he went instead to Zer. The two men spoke briefly and then joined Rhea, who was talking with Kadarin, who then crossed the room to speak with Kenzie. He had no idea what chain of events his cousin had set in motion. A few minutes later, he heard another voice in his ear. This time it was Zer.
I have been asked to bring you out to the front of the palace,
he said. Max went with him. Whatever they planned had to be better than indecisive dithering. At the entrance to the palace, he looked down and saw one of the smaller carriages was standing in the forecourt. Nico, Kenzie, Lyra and Rhea were all standing near it. He and Zari descended the stairs and approached the others. Nico looked up at the two men and said, somehow assuming the mantle of his new role with an ease Max would not have believed just 3 weeks ago.
Thank you for joining us, Max and Zer. Rhea has an idea I feel is critical to explore immediately. We will return to the celebration, but for now, I feel we need to discuss it in the appropriate setting. We are just going to the temple, so it is a short ride.
Nico apologized. Neither he nor Zer looked like they minded having their spouses on their laps. Max felt the warmth of Lyra's flesh against his own. He wanted the ride to quickly end, while wishing it never would. Soon, too soon, they were at the temple. The acolytes opened the doors for them. Nico led them past the corridor leading to his office.
My office?
He gestured vaguely down the hall.
Is a bit small for this.
He guided them through the ceremony room, out the back door into the second foyer, and finally to the royal seclusion suite. Once inside, they gathered around the table. Max understood the purpose of this space, even if Laia didn't. If Nico aimed to drive him crazy, he'd chosen an effective method. However, if he wanted Max to focus, this was the worst possible venue.
And place within her safekeeping the entirety of my soul.
Once they were all settled around the table, Nico focused on Laia. His voice was brisk when he said,
Ria wants to start an education program. To do this, she will need a partner, and she hopes you would be willing to consider it.
He directed this to Laia.
I know she has already spoken to you about it. I felt as if it was critical that all 6 of us discuss it together tonight, since it must be a group decision.
A partner in what way? I know almost nothing about your faith.
Laia said. Max had led her into this room, his hand holding hers, and she was conscious of the fact that he still had her hand in his. It was hard to focus on the conversation when her skin seemed to be pulsating with suppressed desires.
That is what makes you so perfect,
Ria said.
As women who are learning about Estolia, you and Kenzie will be able to steer our educational program so that it will serve the needs of those who know nothing and augment the understanding of those who have lived the faith from their youth.
I'll do what I can.
Laia said.
I'm honored to be asked.
Great.
Nico said. He went on to address Zara.
I know you agreed to spend a year learning about the Estolian religion. To do that, you will begin the Elder Year, an educational program designed for men who are already married, but who have a variety of levels of knowledge about the faith. What I would like to have from you, Zer, is an additional commitment. If you find you wish to embrace the Estolian faith, I would like you to consider a second year in the mastery program my uncle plans to establish.
Zer smiled over at Ria and answered, his eyes never leaving hers.
It is very likely that I will find my spiritual home here in Estolia. I can make that commitment unless I learn something in my first year that turns me away from this pathway.
Max, will you commit 2 years as well?
Nico turned to him.
Yes, of course.
Great.
Nico said again as he got to his feet.
I'm going to discuss a little bit more with Zer and Ria in my office.
The couple stood and left the room. Kenzie also got to her feet waiting for Nico.
I will speak with Uncle Zeke tomorrow about his plans, so we can begin the adaptation of our structures and systems to accommodate these revolutionary changes.
Nico said. He added,
I know it is a huge undertaking, but I also know it is right for Estolia to embark on this new pathway.
He joined Kenzie where she waited for him, then said,
We will leave the 2 of you to discuss the finer details.
The click of the closing doors punctuated their abrupt departure.
The beauty of 1,000 lifetimes all surpassed in that one moment when I stumbled unaware on the keeper of my soul.